Did Will Power make a huge statement today to Alex Palou that he shouldn't feel comfortable with his now 54-point lead?
Well, I had the right idea on the pre-race show earlier today that somebody would make Alex Palou recognize that he shouldn't count his chickens before they hatch here. I thought it was going to be Scott Dixon. I was very quickly proven wrong. Dixon at the complete opposite end, rather, of the result sheet here today, and we'll get into that later on in this segment. But for Will Power, he was the one. He was the champion of this series, one of the veterans that is again showing Alex Palou that it's not as easy as it may seem to close the deal here. I still think Palou should be slightly favored. You could certainly say Palou is stronger on the road courses than he is on the ovals, but he's by no means a slouch on the ovals either. I wouldn't put it past him to go out and have some strong runs over these last few races. But when you have somebody like Will Power, who you could probably say was in a very similar position to Palou several years ago, coming from a Champ Car road and taking a while to get up to speed on the ovals. Of course, nowadays we know Will has said he wouldn't care if the whole season was ovals. He loves racing on the high banks and those kinds of tracks. But with Power's experience and being somebody that enjoys the ovals now, comparing that to Palou, maybe the 54-point lead isn't quite as comfortable for Palou as it would be if we had 3 road courses to finish out the season. So it's going to be an interesting title dynamic here as Palou tries to eventually lock up his championship, if not before the final race, during the final race, and seal a championship here. But with Will Power closing the gap, it's certainly going to be easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. And talk about an epic beatdown, right? Will Power absolutely dominated this race and one of, the most dominant performances that we've seen, in quite some time in IndyCar. But I do argue, Colton Herta's, dominant Toronto win was also, in that same ballpark. This was a 110 lap race. Will Power led over 100 laps of this race, just to put it into perspective of how dominant today was. So I think that this was absolutely a massive statement to Alex Palou, because the rest of this way, Alex Palou, he's gonna be playing on defense. Will Power, he gets to be aggressive. He gets to play on offense, and he gets to put a lot of pressure on Palou. And I think the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at coming down the stretch here is Will Power when he goes on offense. Is he going to force Palou into making a mistake? You rarely see Palou make a mental error on the track, but I wonder now, going to ovals. We'll talk a little bit about Palou and ovals in a minute. We all know Will Power. He knows how to get it done on those oval tracks. He's one of those time and time again, and I really believe that although Alex Palou did have a really good day today, I think all the momentum right now heading into the Milwaukee doubleheader is on the side of Team Penske's Will Power. And like I said, now we have 2 race weekends left and 3 races to go. Two short oval races at the Milwaukee Mile and the season finale at Nashville Super Speedway. Power is an experienced oval racer who has a handful of oval wins. Palou has run enough ovals in his career to have the experience, and he's not bad on ovals at all. So when we talk about ovals being a weakness of Palou, we're not saying that he's terrible at ovals. He's not terrible at all. He just hasn't found victory lane yet. Yeah, and that's the growing elephant in the room as Palou still seeks his first oval win during the most important part of the 2024 season. So here's my question for you, Ben. Do the final 3 races favor Power over Palou, and do you have confidence that Palou will be able to hang on to this championship?
Yeah, again, it's kind of wild to think about if you were talking about this 10 or 15 years ago and saying a championship battle that ends with 3 consecutive ovals is going to favor Will Power. Probably you'd have a lot of people disagreeing with that take, especially against a driver like Dario Franchitti, as Will had to go up against for so many battles early in his career. But now, like I mentioned, that Will is a little bit more matured and certainly more seasoned veteran on these ovals here. I think, yeah, he should be considered a slight favorite here in terms of getting the higher finishes. Now, the caveat to that is, of course, Palou has the 54-point advantage, and there's only 3 races left for Power to make up that ground here. So it's by no means going to be an easy sort of feat here. Palou could finish 5th in all 3 of these races here. Power could win all 3 of them. That would get him just over the edge to take this championship still. So Palou still has to go out and perform, assuming Power is going to maximize his potential here as well. So it's by no means, out of Power's reach. He certainly has an opportunity, but you do, I think, have to give a slight edge to Palou when it comes to the likelihood of who's going to win this championship. I'd say Power's favored to close the gap, no doubt. But in terms of if I had to make a pick today, who's going to be the champion, I still give a slight edge to Palou, assuming that he can go out and maybe not win one of these final 3 races, but at least be flirting with the podium and be in a solid position not to lose too many points to Power here at Milwaukee and when we end the season in Nashville.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like you say, Ben, I think that the chances of Palou winning the championship are still fantastic because we've seen throughout Alex Palou's IndyCar career, one thing that we see from him is consistency, consistency, consistency. Because he is a very consistent driver. You remember he had that very long top 10 streak that was snapped. When we had that chaotic race on the streets of Detroit. And since then, Palou's gotten back to his consistent ways. I think if Palou can be consistent, for these final three races of the season, get out of both Milwaukee races, with the top five finish, top 10 finish, maybe you'll have Will Power run into some trouble along the way. I'm sure Palou hopes he's not one of the ones running into trouble. And then if he can just be consistent like that, he can definitely hang on to his championship. But like we were saying, Ben, Will Power certainly has the capability of closing the gap, and we know he's going to be going all out these final three races because he, like I was saying, he's gonna be on offense. He's gonna be all fired up. He has all the momentum heading into Milwaukee, and we'll see what Power is able to do with all of that momentum. I think this championship fight is far from over. Anything is possible, and I think Palou is really gonna be feeling some of the pressure from Will Power, but we know Palou is very is very very strong on the track performance wise and mentally as well. So he's definitely going to be tough to beat despite Power's hard charge as we close out the season.